Hey HappiCrew, HappiDaze here. In today's video, we are doing a double dose of PvP Day 1 and Day 2 of Grand Party. On these days, we typically do leaders that we don't normally fight because we don't have to worry about losses or retries or anything like that. So we're going to do 6 matches today. We'll go through them, kind of go through the strategies, what I go for when I face some of these tougher bosses. Hopefully we get some easier bosses along the way too. But like I said, let's get into it and see what match number 1 holds for us. Alright, so for match number 1, we're going to go ahead and take a look at what opponents we have. In this case, let's just fight the G5 Strength Luffy. Not a crazy burst captain, but definitely better than some of those int G5 captains. Just a pain to deal with. So going into these fights, obviously we have the advantage with the int G5 burst. Taking on the side team first, we obviously have our int team going against them. So we do have some tight mismatch here with the law being able to debuff some of our powerhouse characters, but it's not the end of the world, right? We can kind of get through that, and the benefit of this team is basically they just have so much firepower in Luffy and Yamato, both when she wants her special and also when she gets defeated, and does the kamikaze hit as well. Of course, S-Hawk does crazy damage to defense. Sabo just helps give CT for a bunch of units, gives some attack boosts, and you can see, like, at that point, it's GG's, right? There's really nothing that this side team can do against us, and at that point, it's just us just attacking. As I mentioned, 7500 fixed damage. Love to see that, and just a nice shot by Yamato there. And once Luffy goes, we'll take out a good chunk of their front line, and that will pretty much make it really easy for us to defeat going forward. I did get the force out on that Luffy, thanks to the special of our Luffy. I saw it's just going to go and pretty much wipe out these 3 guys. And then it's GG's because the force out units out of there can't come back. So yeah, just a really easy way to get a simple victory there against the Psy team. Not too scary this season, that Psy team, and especially with the Psy leader getting nerfed, it's even less scary to worry about. Match number 2, we are facing against the Strength team. They do get a ton of CT reduction this season. Of course, they have the Raizu and Shinobu on their side as well. Just an absolutely fantastic unit that can just wreck you if you're not careful. The good news for us is they have Sanji on the back line, so they're not getting that CT speed increase on top of the rule set boost that they already get for the season. So the goal here is really to see, you know, we can use a burst if we really want to, or we can kind of use the second fight to tank burst if we're facing a burst leader. So in this case, obviously we're not facing a burst leader, so we don't really kind of worry about that too much. But I could obviously see me bringing like Otama or someone on this team just to give a bunch more HP healing to this team, be able to survive a lot longer. So yeah, at this point, I'm like, you know what? I'll just take the hits. We'll go into the next battle and then just take it from there, right? If you have 2 bursts going into the final battle, it is super difficult to lose. Now, the benefit to having a burst here, though, is that if you use it, if you get lucky like I did here, like, you can take out that whole strength team with the int G5 Luffy burst if he's high enough. So you can see 1 burst just took out a ton of units, and now all our guys have our specials ready to go. So it was a risky maneuver, 100%. But because we took that risk and know that the strength team is a glass cannon, I've been saying for a bunch of these videos, we can easily get that victory even though we took a burst in that shot and secure round number 1 for today. So that's good. We got our first win of this GP season, so let's go ahead and take a look at match number 2 now. So for match number 2, we're going to go ahead and see if we can take on why don't we take on the Psy leader, just to kind of show you how debuffed they are this season. So with the rule set of the season, they get -2 to their burst, which is awesome for us. It just means that we can basically not have to worry about taking any burst at all. So this season, you're going to see a lot of teams that do not have any Psy leaders on there because it's pretty much making a disadvantage for yourself if you're using a Psy G5 Luffy. So yeah, that's just the rule set of the season. So you'll see that if you face them like I'm facing here, no burst to worry about. In this case, we're just facing the quick team. Nothing too scary. Blackbeard just has a bunch of special cooldown at the beginning of the match, so I think he has a -5 or so to the CT speed of the enemy. If you have at least 6 powerhouse characters on your crew, which we do, so it just makes it really easy to get our specials to go off before really they get going. Again, we don't have to worry if they get going. Obviously, we see the Kanu shot there, which is a 30% HP cut. But again, because they can't use a burst, like it's over. Like there's nothing they can really do to mess us up here. Of course, Porkemi in the back bench coming in. He can do a little bit of a nasty fixed damage shot if he goes. But Luffy's just like, no, I'm not going to let you go. And that's why this team is so crazy. With the combination of Luffy and S-Hawk, it's just really easy to just absolutely decimate opponents there. So there we go. Yamato does her special with the 7500 fixed damage and just hits like a tank. Love to see it. First win secured. Second team is against the side team, it looks like, based on the leader there. Again, it'll be really easy for us to take down their team. They do have Otama on their side to do some healing, so of course that's a pain to deal with. Of course, Nami Karina can rely on specials on their side, but because of the GP rule set that gives the strength team so much advantage this season, you can see with Sanji on the front line, we're getting almost 15 cooldown for our characters with the rule set for this season. So that's insane. The fact you can have the the Jack go like super early is just insane. So one thing to note, I do have Kaido in the slot. I am going to throw Kuma in Kaido's slot for future matches here. It's just I haven't level limit breaked him up yet to at least level 3, so I didn't want to throw him in there until I did that. But for some of the later fights that you'll see, I'm actually going to switch the Kaido that you see on the strength team to the new Kuma unit, who's absolutely fantastic. I don't think I'll be able to get him up to level limit break 4. I think I'll be one poster short, which is kind of unfortunate. But yeah, he's still like an absolute monster with what he can do. Going to use a special here. Why not? They can't use a burst themselves. We already won that first match. So we can hopefully just, easily get the victory for the second match without having to go to the third and worry about whatever teams they have there. Again, once Kobe goes, you're just going to give a bunch of CT speed increase to our units, let our guys go, and just absolutely help us decimate all the units that are left. So yeah, we're going to make short work out of whoever survived and whoever's left. We did lose our Luffy, which is a pain. But like I said, as long as we have that Kaido there, he can hit like an absolute tank. So it just doesn't matter the fact that we lost Luffy there. You do have Luffy and Zoro come back in from the force out that was done, which obviously is a pain to deal with. Zoro gets his special off, which just forces us to provoke him. But like I said, a bunch of our really heavy hitters are about to use their special, so we don't have to kind of worry about that too much. And hopefully with this, it should just about wrap it up. Zoro holding on for dear life here. He just does not want to go, but we're just going to skip because at that point, like, he's dead. It's 5 versus 1. There's no way Zoro can come back, even though he is an absolutely crazy counter with his level limit break fully maxed. But that gets us to win number 2 of the day. Love to see that. One step closer to 3 out of 3 for the first day. So let's go ahead and get into match number 3. See if we can rack up the first day with a total victory. All right, so for match number 3, let's see who we have as the opponents. Let's go ahead and just take on one of these Strength Luffys. Now, obviously, Strength Luffy is a unit you have to watch out for this season. Like, his burst is good. I wouldn't say it's as good as the Inchi 5 Luffy. I think that's just so broken. But this guy is an absolute menace with his ability to just do a ton of damage. If you are a Sire Int team, he can also do additional 6,000 hit, which can just wipe out a team like super easily if you have an Int team and you face this guy. So that's the danger there, but like I said, it's the first day. We can lose. It's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. So we're just going to go ahead and see what happens, see if we can actually beat this Luffy. So typically what I do when I'm facing burst captains like this is I try to have a strategy of winning the first fight only using 1 burst, getting them to use 2 bursts on the second match. So how I typically do that is that you have a lot of units on that second match that will end up having revives and things like that. So even if they die, like, they come back, right, and give a chance to give the enemy a second chance to be able to go ahead and use their special. Sometimes the AI is finicky and will use their special on the first match, even if they're going to absolutely lose. So if they do, that just makes it a lot easier, but most cases, so you can see, like, they used it here, for example, right? They used their special there, and we're just going to give it right back to them. But that will mean that they're going to be forced to use their special right away on match number 2, because they're not going to want to lose. The AI will say, if I don't use my special when it's available, then I'm going to lose. So that's the benefit there. I know going to this, that the second team here is just a sacrificial team. Doesn't really matter. We'll have 1 burst ready for that Int team to go, who is crazy at the back end, and that's an easy victory here. So that's the advantage of getting that burst kicked off in that first match, is it's almost a guaranteed win at that point, because if you have 1 burst and you have an Int team, you have the Slasher team, you have this Free Spirit team, like, you should be able to get that victory without too much details or too much issues there. So as I mentioned, we'll just kind of charge up their burst. we're going to skip it now that we took the burst. There's really no point for us to continue this match. We accomplished what we were hoping to accomplish by the second match. You could throw Otama on this team, and I probably will, going probably from day 4 onwards, just so you can stall more, right? And because of the rule set of this season, she is buffed with healing, so you'll be able to definitely take 2 bursts if you have that Otama on the team. Take 1 burst off Rift, Otama will help heal people up, get them almost back to full, and then if you can do enough damage to trigger a second burst for the Strength Luffy, then you're in really, really good shape. So, as I mentioned, it looks like it's the kind of the basic free spirit in the back end there. Obviously, Nami Karina can rewind specials, got to watch out there. Kuzan can do some hits. Obviously, the Zoro unit can go in and just do a bunch of damage with his counterattack. But yeah, at this point, like, I'm not worried. We should be able to pretty easily get through this. Again, Sabo's going to give us just a bunch of CT increase. We do a monster hit to him. Now, he does have a revive, so that's kind of the downside there. But before Nami and Karina really got a chance to go, I want to be able to use these specials so I can really force them out. So you can see, with that, I'm able to take out Zoro, which is fantastic. We get the Luffy revive. They do have a S-Hawk on the back line, which is kind of obviously a little bit scary. But if they kill the Yamato, like, we can take out 2 units ourselves just by, or 3 units technically, with her death shot that she does. So yeah, at this point, like, I wasn't worried at all. Pretty confident that I can go ahead and just get through that without too many difficulties, too many issues there. And yeah, it's GG's. So it should be a pretty easy win for 3 out of 3 for the day. As I mentioned, if you're facing like the strength leader, it's going to be tough. If they have like a fully buffed team, then you're going to be in for some bad times. So just be careful of facing strength Luffy leaders. Obviously, I think if you have a choice between the strength Luffy leader versus an int Luffy leader, definitely go for the strength Luffy leader. I think it's probably a little bit less risky, but still, like, it's super risky to fight this team. So just be careful for that. Just want to make sure everyone is kind of aware of that. But I wanted to do one team at least where I was fighting a strength captain, so you can see that, like, he's still really good. And you still have to watch out for him when you're doing content, just because he can kind of really mess you up there. So we're just going to kill the Sanji there with the damage over time from Blackbeard. Love to see it. Gets us to 3 out of 3 wins for the day. So that wraps up the first day. Like I said, 3 out of 3. Like to see it. So let's go ahead and get into the matches for day number 2. So that will take us through matches number 4, 5, and 6. So let's get right into match number 4. And just make sure at the end of the day, change your leader. Obviously, it's not so much a big deal at the beginning of the season, but when you get towards the end of the season, you definitely want to change your leader to a non-burst captain. Just helps everyone out. So with that being said, now let's hop into match number 4. So for match number 4, we're going to go ahead and take on, let's take on the Sai Luffy again, just because I want to be able to just showcase, you know, what the Strength team can do versus that Dex team. So yeah, and because we don't have to deal with the burst as well, just because the Luffy is... has the debuffs for this season, so nothing kind of too crazy to worry about. This isn't even like the really meta Dex team, but I just want to see how much damage our Luffy and Kuma can really do. That Kuma is pretty crazy, so as I mentioned in the first set of videos, I had Kaido in his spot yesterday. Kind of switched it up a little bit. I did throw the Kuma in the front line, as well as kind of throwing Sanji on the back bench. Throwing the Nami, Boa, and Robin there on the front bench, just because their confusion is really crazy. If you have them up to level in grade 4, I think it's an 80% chance of confusion for 10 seconds. So it's really good if you can get that to go off. You'll see in just a second. Hopefully we should be able to get it to go off. And that's just an absolute, and it went on all 3 of them. So yeah, it's like an absolute destroyer. In terms of what it can do, the fact that they lose their special if they use it in that time. It's just an absolute crazy ability that they have. Obviously, the downside of using that is that I don't have the cooldown with Sanji in the back line. That's the sacrifice that we're doing there. So for fight number 2, we're going to take on their version of the Strength team. They kind of have a weird backbench. They threw Luffy just randomly on the backbench, which is fine. It is what it is. I guess they just want to use this Luffy as the leader, which is why they threw him on this team. But yeah, like, without Kobe or the Strength G5, like, the Strength team just isn't scary at all. So you'll see this will be a pretty easy victory for us. Again, the Blackbeard just lowers their CT at the beginning of the fight, makes it much easier for us to go. Sabo giving us +5 to ours just makes it absolutely easy for us to just decimate them first. So love to see that. Obviously, Luffy came in. You got to deal with the revive mechanic of Luffy, but otherwise it's pretty simple to get through the fight, get through him. S30 does his damage through defense and just absolutely cleans up. If you did see on my first fight, so I didn't get to showcase him in this fight, but I did pull Sentomaru. If you saw my pull video, I pulled him both in the second and the third multi. I had him on my team back there. I haven't tried the zombie strategy yet that I want to try out, see if that's kind of the best way to work with him. Now, granted, he does give you a ton of defense, so similar to Jack, right? You can just make your team like super tanky and just give you enough time to be able to go ahead and kill there. But you can see we got 2 victories, pretty simple. That brings up to 4 wins and 1 step closer to 6. So let's go ahead and take on match number 5, and we'll see what we got. All right, so for fight number 5, let's see who we have as potential options here. Yeah, let's take on another strength Luffy. I know we did a strength Luffy yesterday. Want to see if we can kind of do the same strategy that we used there, see how it goes. Now, I really don't like doing mirror matches. I think it's just super risky. The only reason I decided to face this one is because he didn't have Kobe, right? Kobe is a huge boon to this team in terms of what he can do with the hasting of specials to the top, 30% CT reduction for your units. So yeah, even though it's a mirror match and I don't feel great about it, I figure, you know, the game strategy again is if you can get through that first round without having to use a burst, then that's great. You get 2 bursts basically for the final fight. Have a sacrificial team in the middle slot there to take on 2 bursts. And you can see what's awesome is Bo was able to go, does the confusion on a bunch of units. We're going to take a nasty shot here from the Luffy, of course. So let's go ahead and use our burst. See if we can kind of bait them to use their burst, similar to what happened yesterday when we did our matches. I don't know how to work. I'm hoping it works. And it doesn't look like any of their specials are ready to go, so we should be in a pretty good state. So yeah, they're not gonna use their burst before we go here. So if they would have used it, it probably would have been a little bit better for us. We wouldn't have had to deal with 2 bursts in that second round. But hey, it is what it is. So because we're taking 2 bursts, we're gonna throw that sacrificial free spirit team in the middle there. It looks like it's free spirit versus free spirit, just based on what the front line shows there. And again, you just gotta watch out for the Nami Karina. It's always a pain to deal with. Their backbench really isn't that scary. Smoker can do some special bind, which is a pain. But yeah, outside of that, like their main damage dealer is really the Zoro with the counter. Sanji can do a little bit of damage there, but they don't have like a ton of units that can do a bunch of damage. But like I said, we're saving our bursts for the final match. The goal is to be able to survive long enough for them to be able to use their burst on this match, their second burst on this match, and then it's GG's from that point on. There's no way they can kind of get back to us from there. So yeah, we're just chugging along here. Might be a minute or 2 before we're ready to go. We did take the nasty shot from Luffy there. It's going to bring some of the units in the backbench out. Luckily, our Nami Karina went before their Nami Karina, so that just means that it kind of rewinds their special. We have Smoker, as I mentioned, who can do some special bind for us, just to kind of help make sure that we can survive long enough to do enough damage to trigger the second burst of theirs. There we go. Yep. So that's exactly what we want to happen. 2 bursts. As I mentioned, it would have been probably a little bit safer if I had the Free Spirit team with Otama on here, just to heal up after that first burst, just to make sure 100% that we would have had it ready to go. But because this is just sacrificial team, go ahead and skip the rest of this match. It doesn't matter. Again, we're facing what looks to be a side team for that final slot there. And they probably have Law on this team as well, which is kind of the staple they do. So we do get some debuffs there. But still, we have a burst, and we just have an absolutely insane team. Their backbench is super weak. Only thing you have to really look out for on this fight is, you know, the special bind of the Odin there. That could be the only thing that can kind of present a challenge for itself. So we'll just wait. Ideally, what we'll try to do is let some units do some damage, see if we can use our burst right before Odin goes, just so that we're able to, you know, prevent getting a bunch of our units special bound before we can do a bunch of damage. So using Luffy special here, we're able to kick out a couple of free spirit characters there. Love to see that. Sabo's going to do a couple thousand shot, end up triggering the revive of Luffy, which is great for us. Again, we're able to use Blackbeard to get the special rewind on Odin, though we were still able to get it off, unfortunately for us. Luckily for us, our 2 main damage dealers with Luffy and S30 didn't get bound. So that was like the absolute best case scenario for us, even though it went off. So at this point, there's nothing they can do. All the units are forced out. Hoping we can kill them before they get the rest of the units to come back in. but we don't have any units who are kind of really ready to go. So yeah, I mean, the rest of the units will come back in, but they're all super low HP. So Yamato will go, she'll take out 2 herself, and then it's just a matter of just waiting for probably Sabo to come in and do his special to kind of finish off a couple of the units there. So not worried at all about this point. Should be a pretty easy victory. As I mentioned, they used both of the bursts on the second match, so we don't have to worry about taking any bursts or anything like that. Here's the 7,500 damage. You know it's going to be reduced because of the color disadvantage there. But still, you can see just a couple units go, and we're able to pretty easily take them out. Luffy's not ready. Blackbeard will put some damage over time back on them. You can see they're all like super low HP, so it shouldn't take that long to finish off this match. Yeah, we're just gonna skip. There's no reason for us to wait. Like, there's nothing they could do to come back at that point. So yeah, just to save some time, we'll go ahead and do the skip there. That will end up bringing us to 5 out of 6 wins for the day, one step closer. So yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into match number 6 and see if we can get that win for the second day. All right, so for match number 6, let's see who we have. We're just going to take the easy way today, I think. That bottom team is pretty scary with this Strength Luffy leader. That Uta just gives a bunch of really crazy buffs to the character, especially if she gets her Super Rumble special off. So I'm gonna take the less risky road, and this is what you have to do. Once you get past 6 wins, like, you take the less risk, right? You get less and less retries after you get past 6 wins. So yeah, this is why that community strategy of changing your leader at the end of the day is so important. Just to make sure people can kind of get those max wins, right? And you take victories where you can. So in this case, it looks like it's just an auto-gen team. There's not like a lot of synergy or cohesion against all the units there. So it should be like really easy to just absolutely destroy these guys. Shouldn't be a problem at all. Again, we have 2 bursts. They have the Luffy on their side, but I think he only does like 500 fixed damage if he hits you, so like it's pretty much nothing. So yeah, we'll take a couple specials here. We'll see if Kuma can really do some nasty damage. So you can see, even though he's not level memory 4, he still does a bunch of damage to defense. That kind of takes out 3 units himself. Love to see that. Kobe will haste everyone. Hopefully bring Luffy to the front, and Luffy will just pretty much wipe out everyone who's left. And then it's GG's after that. Of course, add insult to injury. We're going to have the waifus end up throwing some confusion on our opponents there. So yeah, real easy to take it down. Overkill here, killing Sanji with an absolute blast. But yeah, really easy to get the first win of the last series. And that gives us, of course, the ability to basically have a burst ready. Hopefully, we take 1 or 2 shots, and then we'll have the burst ready to go. Obviously, with the Dofi and the Sanji on their team, they get stronger the longer the match goes on. I probably could have swapped and had the Strength team go second just to make this second fight a little bit quicker. So that's a GP burst. Like I said, it's only 500 damage. Does nothing. Doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. So it should be really easy at that point for just to get our specials to go and just go from there. So as I mentioned, once S-Hawk goes, he'll take out a couple units, or because the Dex team is so beefy, he might not be able to take out all the units himself, but he'll do a good chunk of damage there. That was almost a 12k shot from Sabo there, just like, hey, what's going on? So yeah, at this point, there's really not much we can do. I don't think we'll get our burst off. We might get lucky, and maybe we can. But yeah, it looks like we'll probably get through this match without having to get our burst off, unless Lucci goes. If Lucci goes, there's a good chance that he'll charge the rest, but let's see. Luffy coming in, just doing a little bit of a shot there. Still not enough. Yeah, that's the downside of fighting the non-burst captains, is that sometimes it takes forever for their charge gauge to go. Okay, good. Now we finally got it. Okay, so we can just use the burst, and this should pretty much just end it right here. Boom. There we go. So that brings us to 6 out of 6 wins for the day. Love to see that. As you saw, in the previous day's video, at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're going in, you're setting your captain to a non-burst captain. That way everyone can just get a chance to get 15 out of 15, right? There's no downside to helping out the community. It's a good community strat. It's encouraged by most of the content creators that are out there, if not all of them. So yeah, at the end of the day, just change your character to a rare recruit that doesn't have a burst. Make it easier for everyone to get 15 out of 15 wins. So that's going to wrap up the day 1 and day 2 matches. Sorry, this is probably a pretty long video because we combined both days and sped up the videos a little bit just so it wasn't just a bunch of time wasted just watching the battles unfold. So hope you enjoyed it. Hope you saw some strength fights. I think that'll be my takeaway is how we take on the Strength Luffy leader going forward. I think he'll be pretty much a menace in this season as well as some upcoming seasons as well. So yeah, we'll have to figure out a better strategy for getting around that burst. But at least for now, the strategy of taking 2 bursts in that second match seems to work pretty well. So that's going to wrap it for me today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know how your Grand Party is going. Obviously, only 23% of people have got 6 out of 15, which is kind of low, in my opinion. So we'll see. I think this will be a tough season to get 15 out of 15, but we'll just see how that goes. Thank you guys so much. And as always, until next time, be kind to each other.